Today we're going to talk about the Berkey Water Filter. And this is mostly the stuff I wish I had known before I purchased this, so hopefully you can make a better purchasing decision. Now, to begin with, one thing I haven't seen mentioned anywhere is, well, let's just look at the basic Berkey setup. It comes in a bunch of different sizes. I think this is the Royal, it's just over a gallon. Obviously, cover on the top. Then this rest of this is basically two pieces that are both cylinders. And this got filled right before it recorded, so let me dump it. Okay, you can see this is basically two cylinders. Now in the top, it's got 4 holes, easier to see from the other side. They have 4 holes. This one came with 2 filters and just 2 little rubber plugs for the other holes. And the idea is you put water in the top, it runs through those filters, it comes with 2 filters, can potentially have up to 4, and then goes into the bottom, and the bottom is just a holding area for the filtered water. And then on the side, we have this little metal clippy thing. I'm sure we're going to see them on the camera. Yeah, it's clipped on, so I can't take it off. Some more over there. You have the little metal clippy thing, and what that does is keeps these two from sealing when you put the top on top of the bottom. So you've got a little gap that air can come out. So as this runs, you'll put unfiltered water on the top. We do that right now. Don't worry, we'll be back to talk more in a second. So, water is going to go through those black filters on top. Those should filter it out, and it ends up on the bottom. Now, a couple issues here. As it goes through those filters, right at the beginning, the entire filter is submerged in water. So all sides of the filter are working. As it goes lower, the top half of the filter is in air and only the bottom half of the filter is working. So really the top filters, like when you refill it, it's going to filter a whole lot faster right at the beginning and then it slows down. So that's one problem. Second, filters do need to be cleaned periodically. How often they need to be cleaned really depends on how dirty your starting water is. My city water, when I first moved in, this needed to get cleaned about every 3 weeks, which is kind of annoying. Cleaning, you basically just take a scrub brush to the outside, go over it, and you're done. And you just clean it when it takes too long to filter. Anyways, it'll filter down, fill this bottom portion. And then when you flip the little, you grab a cup. Flip the little valve, you get water. Now, part of the problem here is in order to see how much water is left in it, you've got to take the top off, which is a little heavy since I just filled it with water. The other problem is, like, if you just refill it and the bottom happens to be already full of water, guess what happens? As the water comes down, it comes out that side vent hole, like, or whatever you want to call it, the vent. And basically you end up with a puddle on your floor. Normally air comes out of there, but if there's no place for the water to go, guess where the water's going? And you get to mop up your floor later. Now, I was saying with the filters, yeah, when I first moved in, new pipes, probably dirty pipes from when they installed them, and it needed to be cleaned every 3 weeks. After a while, it got down to every month, and probably within 6 months, I got to this probably hasn't been cleaned in a year. So it's not that big of a deal cleaning after a while. When you first get it, if you're on new water pipes, probably going to be a lot. Now, since you have to take this top part off to check the water level, they do make a valve here that has a clear piece of glass that comes up the top, and that will show you your water level. If you buy it, get one of those. Now, one thing a lot of people talk about with the Berkeys, I'm going to sit down on the couch, is people will state that or there's multiple lawsuits against Berkey. They've made a bunch of claims as to how well they filter, and a lot of people have tested it and claimed that it didn't filter as well. Now, all of the claims I have seen for this consisted of a person with no scientific background, usually a reporter, occasionally a government official who's looking for re-election, like a county attorney or something. And they test the Berkey. They get some sort of contaminant, put the contaminant in the top of the Berkey, get some water out of the bottom once the Berkey's done, and send that water off to a lab. About half the time, the water is fine, no contaminant, or no significant amounts of the contaminant, and like below trace levels, not enough to be concerned about. And sometimes it comes out as the resulting clean filtered water has a lot of the contaminant in it. Now, in my case, I'm pretty much running, not city water, but county water. Off the top of my head, I don't know who our water provider is, but it's some county-wide thing, which is supposedly like drinkable anyways. And run it through the Berkey, it comes out fine. If you're going to have like uranium virus contaminated water, I'd maybe be a little more concerned. For me, I don't care. I have noticed that it will filter out a significant amount of chlorine. In my area, we've had a lot of new construction. It seems like when they hook up a new water meter to somebody's house, they flush the lines with chlorine, and like you can smell it. Like you open a tap and it's just covered in chlorine. It was actually that way yesterday morning. And the Berkey essentially gets all of that out. On the flip side is once you run it through the Berkey, you end up with completely non-chlorinated water, which tastes fine. That's actually the main reason we got it, to get the chlorine out so it tastes fine. The problem is if you're storing that water for a long period of time, it will start to get nasty. I don't know why, but it does. Probably something to do with the fact there's no chlorine in the water. Whatever contaminants are in the air get into the water, your water gets a little funky. For a day or two, it's fine. I've even gone on vacation for a week, and there's been water in the Berkey when we came home, and it was fine. If you're like filling up a Camelback and then you're not going hiking for a month and you just keep your Camelback full, I wouldn't want to use Berkey water for that. I'd use something that hasn't gone through a Berkey filter. At the moment, just because I've got readily access to heavily chlorinated water, that's great for storing in a Camelback. A lot of people also point out that they don't have XYZ certification. It was on my head, I can't remember what the certification everyone complains about on YouTube is. Most filters I found don't have that certification, and certification cost about $50,000 2 years ago when I got this Berkey, and it's per contaminant. So if you want to make sure you filter out bear poop, you need to go get it certified for bear poop, and then potentially black bear, brown bear, grizzly bear, polar bear, whatever, koala bear, who knows. And those are all separate certifications at 50 grand a pop. Would add up really, really quick. And the Berkey doesn't have it. I don't know, doesn't bother me any. The Catadine and Sawyer water filters that people use to hike the Appalachian Trail and literally drinking deer poop and things like that on the streams don't have that certification either, and they work just fine. So I'm not too worried. If the certification bothers you, I don't know, don't get this filter. I haven't found any other. I think Brita has one filter that's got that certification for a few things. But another thing to note, those black filters that you saw earlier, those cost about, last I looked, $120 to $150 each. So the Berkey whole assembly cost over $400 when I bought it. It's probably more than that now. So it's expensive, and you're paying that money for basically a piece of stainless steel that's in a tube shape, 2 pieces of stainless steel, valve, and 2 filters. And then when you replace the filters, which I think Berkey says to do every year or two, those filters are almost 2 years old and they seem to work fine. That's potentially a big expense. So Berkeys are definitely expensive. Do you get what you pay for? Yeah, they kind of seem overpriced when you consider like a Sawyer squeeze, how many gallons that'll filter. What are they rated for? 10,000 gallons, and you can get those for like $30. I'm not sure the Berkey's quite worth the money. On the other hand, I already have it, so I'm going to keep using it. If you're in the market and looking to buy one of these, things I would suggest is, first off, buy as many filters as you can. If your machine will hold 4 filters like mine will, don't just take the 2 filters it came with, get 4. It's just going to run it a whole lot faster. And occasionally, like if you don't realize it and it's out, happens to me quite a bit, you know, you put more water in, then you got to wait to take a drink until it filters, and that can take, you know, a half hour or so. It's just annoying. I get all 4 filters. Even though it's going to cost you more money, I'd just do that. Another thing is, I'd get the biggest one you can, just so you've got a bigger reservoir of water at the bottom, easier to, or, you know, you have to fill it less often. And I'd get that, I'll put a link in the description or a picture. I'd get that valve that's got the built-in gauge that will tell you how much water's in it. That would be so convenient to have. So I think it's like an extra $30 when you buy the Berkey. Go ahead and buy that at the same time. It would be so worth it. So hope that was helpful. If you're interested in a Berkey, subscribe. We do garden videos on Friday, chicken videos today. I've got all sorts of random tactical and airsoft videos. And I just had to cull a chicken, so my head's a little out of it right now. Talk to you later.